What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WrestleRant, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network and Impact Plus. Today we're talking ECW November to Remember 1999. And if you're wondering why I've been putting up so many ECW event reviews in the last couple of weeks, it's because I want to get through, and I think I've said this before, I want to get through every ECW pay-per-view on the network before I can focus on the WWE ones from 2018, because I've done all the ones prior to that point. I have to do the NXT takeovers from 2018 and the pay-per-views from 2018 from WWE. I also have to do, Impact TNA pay-per-views and then WCW pay-per-view reviews as well. The WCW ones are my next tall task, and there's over 100 of those I still have to watch and review. So that's going to be more of a long-term goal. The ECW ones, by my count, up until a couple weeks ago, I had 13 to watch and review. Now it's 8 or 9, maybe even if that. I'm not even exactly sure. This is the last one of 1999. There was a handful from 2000, and then I think maybe one from 2001, from January of 01. So there's not many left. So we will watch these and get through these in the next, I would say, month or so, and then move on to the WWE, WCW, and TNA pay-per-views here on WrestleRant. So November to Remember 1999 kicked off with Spike Dudley versus Simon Diamond, in a match that really was no good. This was over within 3 minutes. Simon Diamond had a guy named Dick Hertz in his corner. He was like, "Oh, look at my dick. He's the most vascular dick you'll ever see," and making all these penis jokes. I don't think Dick was there the last time I saw Simon Diamond, either on the last pay-per-view or the pay-per-view before that. I don't think he was. Either way, Simon Diamond lost here to Spike Dudley with the acid drop. This sucked. Little Guido came out to attack Spike Dudley. Then Nova came out to make the save for Spike Dudley, attacking Guido. That led to an impromptu match between Little Guido with Sal E. Graziano in his corner, taking on Nova. This also really was not any good. It was a little longer, about 4 or 5 minutes in length. Really wasn't that much better. It was okay, but was way too short to really be anything of note. Guido wins with what he called the Tamakaze, which was essentially the unprettier, or whatever, Christian Tyler Breeze is calling it this week, the kill switch, whatever. Chris Cheaty makes the save for Nova afterward, attacking Guido. Then Danny Doring and Roadkill come out. My favorite wrestler name, Amish Roadkill. Yes, he comes out with Danny Doring to attack Chris Cheaty. It's a fucking mess. It's an absolute mess to kick off the show. None of this was any good whatsoever. We got our first pretty good match of the show in a three-way dance, which ECW did better than any other company at that point, between Jerry Lynn, Yoshihiro Tajiri, and with Steve Corino and Jack Victory in his corner, and Super Crazy. This was a great match. They called Tajiri the king of the three-way dance, or Steve Corino did anyway. This was really good. I mean, Tajiri and Super Crazy previously had a three-way dance. I don't know if it was on the last show I watched and reviewed. I've watched a lot of ECW shows over the last 2 weeks, so I don't know if it was the last show. But it was one of the shows from 99 where it was Tajiri and Super Crazy in a three-way with Little Guido. So they pretty much took out Guido, put in Jerry Lynn instead, who's even better, and the guy's great. Jerry Lynn thankfully won. Excuse me. Tajiri took out Super Crazy first after Jerry Lynn planted Crazy with a cradle pile driver. Then Tajiri pinned Crazy with a brainbuster. So then it came down to Jerry Lynn and Tajiri, which is really what this match should have been from the beginning. They were the ones with the issues coming into this pay-per-view from what I saw leading up to the match. So Jerry Lynn goes over. He finally wins a big match on pay-per-view, about 11 minutes in, with the cradle pile driver. Good match. Again, nothing great, but I thought it was definitely better than anything else I had seen on this show up to this point. We then had a 4-on-3 handicap match between the Baldies, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which consisted of Vito Lagrazzo. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of these names properly, so if I'm not, who cares? Tony DeVito, PN News, and Spanish Angel, who actually ended up picking up the victory for his team here. They faced New Jack and the Hardcore Chair Swinging Freaks, which obviously consisted of Axel Rotten and Balls Mahoney. This fucking sucked. This is every ECW brawl ever, with the fucking terrible music playing in the background of New Jack, which actually wasn't his music. I'm sure it was his music in real life. I can't imagine it being much better than this. This is so fucking bad. Whenever they play the New Jack Gangsta's theme song over New Jack's matches, So I, secretly hope that all of New Jack's matches that I watch on these ECW, pay-per-views are short. So I don't have to sit through this shit for much longer. For 8 minutes, I have to hear this awful song to a match, playing during a match that's really not even that good. So the Baldies end up winning it after Angel pinned New Jack. He hit him with a guitar over the head, so that was that. Typical ECW. This was fucking trash. There wasn't any blood either, which I thought was weird because we had blood in like the opening match between Spike Dudley and Simon Diamond, but no blood here where you would expect it to be. This was nonsense. We then had Sabu with Bill Alfonso in his corner, taking on Chris Candido with Sonny, a.k.a. Tammy Lynn Sitch, in his corner. This, I thought, was the best match in the... not the best match. It was one of the better matches on the entire show, and you'll see why in a second why I said that. But this was a very good match. Sabu sucked. I don't think this was good because of Sabu. I really do think Candido had a lot to do with how good this match was. He single-handedly carried Sabu to a competent match here. I thought this, again, was a good match, but Sabu was not doing this guy any favors. This really was no good up until Candido was starting to do his thing. Sabu did win. He won with the rear chinlock, an Arabian facebuster, I believe, through a table. A lot of table spots in this match. And then he won with a tap-out victory over Candido with the rear chinlock. Yeah, Candido was the only real star of this match. They got a ton of time. And again, it was a good match, but largely 95% because of Candido. We then had for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, not even close to being the main event, which I guess goes to show that Paul Heyman did not see these guys as main event level material, despite the fact they put on the best fucking match on this entire show. And the weird thing is, it wasn't even their best match. Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka. Awesome was obviously the champion coming in after the three-way dance on the last show, Anarchy Rules. He had Judge Jeff Jones in his corner here. So yeah, they faced off in a rematch on this show. Not even their best match. It paled in comparison to the other encounters, but it was still the best match on this entire show. Really fun match, a lot of crazy-ass spots. The crowd was on their feet by the end. I kind of felt like it was more of a spot fest than a real story being told. I mean, they did tell the story of Awesome dishing out everything in his arsenal on Tanaka, and he had to really resort to, really had to go to great lengths to put this guy away, which I thought was cool. Overall, it was a really fun match, but they have had better matches before. That's the crazy thing. And this was the best match in the entire show. But Awesome did win with the top rope powerbomb to retain the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. We had for the ECW World Television Championship up next. Why this went after the ECW World title match, I have no idea. But this was for the TV title, RVD, the reigning champion, with Bill Alfonso in his corner, versus Tazz. Now, I thought Tazz's last show was the previous one at Anarchy Rules when he dropped the championship to Mike Awesome in that three-way dance, also involving Tanaka. Apparently not. They treated him like that was his, swan song from ECW. It wasn't. He had another match on this show, in which I guess you can kind of call a dream match, because Tazz was on his way out. He may have faced RVD before, I don't remember. But RVD and Tazz were two like the biggest stars in ECW throughout its entire existence. So for them to face off here for the TV title was pretty fucking cool. No one thought for a single second that Tazz was winning the championship. He was already WWE bound by early 2000. Obviously the outcome was never in doubt, but even as a match, I thought this really wasn't any good at all. Very disappointing. Despite how heavily hyped up it was and the build that it had and how they made it out to be this big fight feel with it being a dream match and all, it just kind of fell flat. It was really just kind of there. I was very underwhelmed by this match. RVD won the 5-star frog splash. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know if it was a lack of chemistry or just neither guy giving a shit because Tazz was on his way out. I don't know. But this match really should not have happened and definitely should not have gone on after the World Heavyweight match, the World Heavyweight title match. Then in the main event, I thought that was the main event. That wasn't the main event. We had an actual main event, which was even worse than that, with Rhino and the Impact players, Justin Credible and Lance Storm, with Jason Knight and Don Marie in their corner, taking on the ECW Tag Team Champions Tommy Dreamer and Raven and the returning Sandman, with Francine in their corner. This was terrible. Your typical ECW brawl, not to the extent that the handicap match was earlier, but still it was a fucking mess. Too much to kind of pay attention to here. This was not a good main event at all. Why they went off the air with this, I have no idea. But the commentators, Cyrus and Joey Styles, did play up at the end of the show how Raven, it looked like You know, he was showing signs of dissension with Tommy Dreamer. He didn't really break up the pinfall when he could have. He could have helped his team win, but he didn't. So they were planting the seeds of dissension there between Raven and Dreamer. But as a match, this was terrible. This really was no good at all, at around like 10 minutes in length. And that's what we went off the air with. I really thought Awesome and Tanaka should have gone on last. This entire show was a massive step down from Anarchy Rules and really any other ECW show I've reviewed in the last couple of weeks. This was a very underwhelming show. The Awesome Tanaka match is the only match I would really recommend you go out of your way to see. Sabu and Candido was pretty good, but again, largely because of Candido. And that was about it. The main event was disappointing. RVD and Tazz was especially disappointing. The handicap match was fucking terrible. Lynn, Tajiri, and Jack Victory was pretty good, but the first two matches were shit. So I would, miss this pay-per-view. I would not recommend checking out the show. But if there's any one match to watch, unsurprisingly, it is Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. With all that being said, thank you guys for checking out the video. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content, more WrestleRant videos to come in the days and weeks to come with more ECW, if you couldn't get enough of it, pay-per-view reviews here on WrestleRant. Whatever the next show is, I think it's Guilty as Charged. Pretty sure it's Guilty as Charged. And that'll be up in a few days here on the channel. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your week/weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.